Deep in the Miombo woodlands of Zimbabwe, something moves in the dark, slow, careful, alone. Pangolin, the most trafficked mammal on Earth. Tonight, it isn't poachers it needs to fear. It's a sound, a bark, then another. Wild dogs. Not just any predators, African wild dogs, some of the most efficient hunters on the continent, and they've caught its scent. A pangolin has no speed, no sharp teeth, no claws built for a fight like this. What it has is stranger, older, a defense that has worked for 20 million years. But wild dogs don't hunt like lions. They don't give up. They coordinate. They wait. So the question isn't just how a pangolin survives one bite. It's how anything this slow survives a hunter this patient. What happened in those next few minutes would test an ancient survival strategy against a modern, coordinated killer. And not every part of that strategy would go as the dogs spread out. 3 from the east, 2 circling west. This is not random chasing. This is strategy. African wild dogs hunt in packs for a reason. Their success rate is one of the highest of any large predator. Higher than lion, higher than leopard. And the pangolin knows it's surrounded before it even sees them. It stops moving. Every muscle tightened. Then, it does something that looks almost impossible. It curls, head tucked, tail wrapped tight, scales locked into place like armor plating. In seconds, the animal is gone. In its place, a solid ball of overlapping keratin, the same material as human fingernail, but stacked and hardened into something closer to plate armor. The first dog arrived. It sniffs, paws at the ball. Nothing happened. For a moment, it looks like the strategy is working exactly as evolution intended. But wild dogs are not like leopards, testing once and walking away. They are patient. They take turns. One noses the scales, then backs off. Another moves in. This isn't an attack anymore. It's an experiment. And somewhere in that shifting circle of muzzles and paws, one dog finds something. A weak point. Not a crack in the armor. Something else. Something the pangolin never expected a predator to notice. The circle tightened. And for the first time since it curled into that ball, the pangolin's defense stops looking so certain. The weak point isn't the scales. It's the ground beneath. Wild dogs have learned something most predators never bother to test. A curled pangolin can be rolled. Not bitten open. Rolled. And once it starts moving, it isn't fully in control anymore. One dog noses underneath then flips it. The pangolin tumbles down a shallow slope, scales scraping against rock and dry grass. For a creature built to be still, sudden motion is its greatest vulnerability. It has no way to see where it's going. No way to brace. The pack follows the movement like it's a game, but this isn't play. Each roll pushes the pangolin closer to a dry river, closer to open ground. Ground with fewer places to hide and fewer trees to retreat toward if the armor ever failed. Researchers studying wild dog behavior in Zimbabwe's Wanj region have noted something troubling. These packs are learning, passing tactics between generations, testing prey that used to be considered untouchable. If that's true here, this isn't instinct anymore. It's memory. It's practice. The pangolin rolls again, further from cover. Somewhere close by, headlights cut through the dark. A vehicle moving slow along a dirt track. Rangers on a night patrol, tracking radio signals from a very different animal entirely. They have no idea what's happening just beyond the trees, but their timing is about to matter more than anyone in that truck could imagine. The truck isn't chasing the dogs. It's tracking a caller. One of the wild dogs in this pack wears a GPS unit, part of a long-running research project monitoring pack movements across Wanj. The ranger driving has followed this signal. He knows this pack's habit, their territory, their usual prey. He does not expect what the spotlight catches next. A tumbling ball of scales, rolling across open ground, surrounded by 5 dogs. For a moment, nobody in the truck moved. Then the ranger does something most wildlife protocols would tell him not to do. He steps out. Alone at night, in wild dog territory. It sounds reckless, but rangers here are trained for exactly this kind of moment. Wild dogs are not naturally aggressive toward humans. They are cautious, easily disrupted by unfamiliar noise or light. He claps once, shouts. The pack scatters, melting into the darkness like they were never there. The pangolin stays curled, motionless, silent. It has no idea the threat is gone. It only knows stillness has kept it alive before. The ranger crouches beside it, careful not to touch the scales too soon, because there's still one problem. Wild dogs don't always leave clean. Sometimes they leave marks that don't show right away. And as the ranger examines the ball of armor under his flashlight, he notices something. A single scale bent at an angle that shouldn't be possible. Something happened during that roll down the slope. Something the pangolin hasn't reacted to yet, but it will. The bent scale isn't the injury. It's a warning sign. The ranger has seen this before. on pangolins rescued from traffickers rather than predator. A scale forced backward like this usually means stress on the muscle beneath it, not a wound from teeth, a wound from panic, from rolling too many times too fast with nowhere to brace. He radios a wildlife veterinarian station nearby, part of a rapid response unit that handles exactly these kinds of encounters. Pangolins rarely survive extended contact with a coordinated predator, even when the armor holds. Stress alone can kill them. Their bodies aren't built for prolonged emergencies. Minutes pass. The pangolin still hasn't uncurled. That's normal. Expected even. But then something happens that isn't. A single claw slips free from the ball, scraping weakly against the then stops. The ranger leans in and for a moment fears the worst. Silence stretches longer than it should. Then the ball shifts. Not from outside force this time. From the inside. Slowly the pangolin uncurls, just enough to breathe easier, its ribs rising and falling in short, uneven pulses. It's alive, but alive isn't the same as safe, because miles away, the same pack that fled the ranger's light hasn't gone far. Wild dogs remember scent trails better than almost any predator in Africa, and this trail leads straight back here. The real test isn't whether the pangolin survived tonight. It's whether the vet team can move it before the pack decides to come back and finish what they started. The vet arrives within the hour, driving the kind of rough dirt roads that only make sense if you already know exactly where you're going. There's no time for hesitation. The pangolin is lifted gently, still half-curled, into a lined crate built for exactly this kind of emergency. Its heart rate is high, too high, but it's breathing steady. That's the sign the vet needed. At a nearby research station, the injured scale is examined properly for the first time. No fracture, no infection, just trauma. The kind that heals with rest and time, not surgery. Relief spreads through the small team, quiet but real. This animal was seconds from a very different outcome. Over the following days, the pangolin stays in a controlled enclosure, monitored but rarely handled. Pangolins don't tolerate stress well, even from people trying to help them. The less contact, the better its odds. Slowly, its appetite returns. Ants and termites, gathered carefully each morning, disappear from its enclosure by night. Good sign. Eventually, the day comes to release it. Not near the riverbed where it was found. Somewhere quieter, deeper into dense cover, far from the pack's usual territory. It disappears into the undergrowth within seconds, exactly as it should. No fanfare, no lingering. Just an animal doing what it has done for 20 million years. Surviving. What happened that night wasn't just a chase. It was a reminder that even the oldest defenses in nature aren't perfect. They just have to be good enough most of the time. And when they're not, sometimes survival depends on something evolution never accounted for. A stranger in the right place at the right moment. If stories like this remind you why the natural world deserves our attention, consider subscribing for more.